So Sentence of a Bookworm Season 2 Episode 1, or Episode 15, depending on how you're keeping track, has arrived, and I'd say walking in and then immediately out of this episode, it was very clear that they were always designing this to be a 26 episode production, just eventually decide to split it up between a 14 and 12 episode season, because this doesn't kick off like a lot of Season 2s where it's like, oh yeah, you know, it's a little bit of a break here, we're gonna get you refreshed. No, it immediately jumps you right back into it. I actually rewatched the last 3 episodes of Bookworm last night just to get a little refresher, a little prep for this season, and I mean, it like just kicks off. It's like you never left the show, and I think that's a good thing, because the whole church plotline that they were setting up towards the end of the first season, it was really intriguing to me. And honestly, if they really stick the landing with this arc that they're clearly going for, I think this will be the best season, the best half of the Bookworm anime. I mean, when you have basically a church that treats people so horribly that unless you're a noble who has a blue robe, you will have a very shitty life, and then all the gray robes just basically look at you in disgust. You have a commoner who's basically wormed her way up into being a blue robe, who's getting looked down upon by everyone, and the only one who kinda is treating her okay is Ferdinand, and even then you don't know if you really want to trust the guy because it doesn't seem like everyone's really playing with all their cards on the table. They're definitely keeping secrets. I mean, he was investigating mine and things like that. I mean, there's just a lot of room for things to go really right and really wrong, but I'm excited for that, because they definitely have safety precautions. I mean, with the first half of the anime, right? I mean, we got the whole Merchants Guild, the contract, if something happens, Lutz will be able to basically locate her, things like that. But still, it feels like we're setting up for some crazy adventures, and I couldn't be more excited. I mean, this episode, it just felt like we never left the anime, and that's a good thing to me. I mean, we pretty much already secured the deal of pretty much getting her everything that she would want, not being used just for her money and mana, but she would be able to survive, she would be able to read her books, she wouldn't have to give up on her Merchants Guild, basically all the essentials. And I like how we're kind of like finalizing the details, and for the most part, it was going pretty smoothly up until the point that she had her own guild, and it's like, we're gonna have to think about that. But I like how they can't really say no to her because they want her money, but most importantly, they want her mana. But at the same time, there are some scummy people. I mean, rewatching the episodes last night, I mean, it still is such a... it's a conflicting feeling, but you kind of love it when she starts going haywire and starts choking the religious nut jobs. I mean, it was like, there's certain characters you kind of want to see get smacked upside the head. And the thing is they introduce us to 3 new characters that will basically be her servants, but it's just not gonna work out well. We got a sickly girl who is as adorable and nice as they come. Even if she wanted to discipline, she's too frail to do so. We have one girl who basically is just trying to be a mistress to someone. We got a bratty boy who just doesn't take shit. And then we got another one who seems like he's just super devoted to the church, but is like, oh yeah, I definitely wish I had a better master. This is not going to be easy, but I think it's going to be amazing to see what Mine will be able to pull off with these characters, both the positive and the negative. But it's going to be an interesting ride, I'd say for sure. This episode, it was actually kind of interesting. I thought, even though this was clearly a connected season, I thought maybe they would focus mostly just on the church content, and while that kind of is true, at the same time, there was a lot of those more simplistic moments where just, you know, you're sitting around the table, you're learning, oh man, you're having a baby? That's really cool. I mean, I wasn't expecting to just have that little bits of information dropped. Or then having the pound cake just taste testing and having our boy just really think about how he can get all of her food recipes, and unless he has a cook and an oven and sugar and all these things, it's basically not gonna happen. And I love how he's like, well, I'll just teach myself then. It's like, this show just has just such a wide variety of content. That's why I really like the first half of the anime, because it had a lot of adorableness. It's basically like creating things in a world that basically you know how to create it, it's just a matter of can you get the materials. That was really fun, but then you have certain moments in it where you're just like, that is incredibly dark and serious, but it felt like a very natural transition, because the whole idea of the devouring just naturally lets itself to have more darker subject matter, but that's not always going to be your main focus. So most of the episodes are going to be like, oh, you're actually really interested in the characters talking, you're laughing, you're thinking it's sweet, or you're thinking it's dramatic, but you're not worried about a character losing their head. But because of the darker stuff that's happened already, it just naturally is getting us ready for either a kidnapping, another character getting choked out by Mine's mana magic, or something maybe even worse. And it's going to be interesting to see what they want to do with this arc, because on one hand, she's going to have to pay the church. That's pretty much clear as day. They want her money. she's going to have to suck out the mana, but at the same time, are they going to just use her to the point that she's going to collapse and almost die, and Lute's going to have to come in there to save her? Like, there's a lot of ways this could go horribly wrong, and characters like Ferdinand, it's just, they're such a wild card. I really like the character, but I don't want to trust the character either, because this church just doesn't seem right. I mean, there's a reason why the father was very angry about Mine wanting to join the church. This is a very shitty lifestyle, and it feels like even if you have a blue robe, you're basically expected to treat people like shit. Like, thanking or apologizing, basic common manners are just no. Like, that can't happen. This church is gonna be, I think, an interesting roller coaster where I'm going to laugh probably just watching her read books and be happy. I'm going to be sweating bullets, being like, oh god, this does not look right. And then I'm also just going to be nervous, being like, I don't know what to feel in this situation. But I really wish there was another way that you didn't have to save your life by basically selling your soul to this church, because it doesn't seem like a very fun adventure. Even the people who are high up in the organization are still sighing at certain things that they have to do. It's like, okay, this is gonna be something. I think the thing I'm most excited for is honestly just seeing, now that we kind of have like an established merchants guild, right? Things are really starting to be produced, and they have to be careful about certain things, so like paper doesn't replace basically the parchment that they already use and just crashes the market. It definitely feels like we're setting up for all the stuff we really liked about the first season, and just like the creation. It feels like that's going to get a little more fast paced, maybe be able to do a lot more selling and just things like that. Lutz is already, practicing his customer service skills and all that fun stuff. But also we're going to get to see just more into the devouring and just what's happening with Mine. So there's a lot of potential here for all the stuff that I really loved about the first half of the anime. That's going to be there probably all the more interesting, but also showing me sides of just a crazy arc that I'm probably going to have no idea what's going to happen. And when it does, my jaw's probably going to be on the floor the same way it was when Mine first snapped and, she went all kind of rainbow eyes, and I was like, oh god, she's going to kill a bitch, isn't she? I just really like this show. I didn't review the first season weekly, as it was one of those shows I just kind of preferred to binge, and it was a good binge, but it's not a show that I feel like I have to binge. I think a good 1 or 2 episodes at a time is always a fun experience, and I'm more than happy to watch this week by week, get up here and review it with everyone, because it's a fun show. It really is. It's one of those fantasies that just doesn't fit into the traditional mold. It just kind of paves its own path. And I think that's why it kind of took the community by storm, because you kind of thought like, oh, this might be cute, might be a little fun, and then it just kind of became such a unique atmosphere that it doesn't necessarily feel comparable to a lot of like isekai fantasies and things like that. It actually just feels like Ascendance of a Bookworm. And you don't get to say that too often, but I'm definitely excited for episode 2, see where it's going to go. I don't know how long we're going to stay with Mine not getting kidnapped. I feel like that's got to happen in this season or something to that nature, but it's good to see that she has support. She took precautions, but it definitely has me worried. But I'm also excited for the adorable, so it kind of keeps us balanced, or at least that's how I'm feeling. I'm really digging the opening song, I have to say. It's one of those, I just feel like they can't mess up the openings or the endings for Ascendance of a Bookworm. I feel like it's kind of like you just know what type of music you need to have. And little glimpses of this soundtrack that we did get a taste of is still good. I mean, the music was good in the first season, so I expected it to pretty much just continue on that track. But it's interesting too, because one of the things I actually really liked about Bookworm's first season was how it's a very traditional anime production. It doesn't move as much as a lot of anime out there, but it just has such a captivating world that it just always has your attention. There's a couple of moments where we're just looking at static images and the characters' faces weren't, 100% polished, and we shouldn't really expect that. I mean, kind of production in general is kind of a little tight right now. But it still felt and looked just as I remembered the first season, and based on me rewatching the final few episodes last night, it feels like a direct continuation. And even though some people are going to say, well, yeah, they were in production at the same time, we should expect that. That's not always the case. I've seen sometimes where like a split core would come back and it feels like, things switched up or different people are working on it. Or it just feels like it kind of lost its magic. But for me, it feels like it's continuing. It's just going to get better. And I imagine if we have any moments like Rainbow Eyes Mine in this season, it's probably going to look pretty damn gorgeous. But I kind of hope we don't see that, because, I mean, she could easily kill herself doing that, but I guess if she has the relic, then that might be able to keep her alive. I don't know. I'm kind of like in this weird spot where I want to see it get super crazy, but then on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see it get super crazy, because is there any coming back from that? But that's how you know you have a good story at your fingertips, where you're really enjoying what you're seeing, but you see the potential to go so wild and just insanity that you want to see it, but then you're also actually feeling super bad and worried for the characters, so you actually have emotional investment. So whether good or bad things do happen to these characters, you actually care. That's why when a character says, yeah, they're having a baby, you're like, damn, good for you, boy. Like, I'm happy you're having a good life. because you actually like the characters. And you don't say that too often with fantasy isekai-like series, but from Sentence of a Bookworm, it's very easy to say you just love the characters across the board. And the ones you don't, you're glad they're in it because they definitely give a conflict that's worth wanting to push back against. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the first episode of the second season of Ascendance of a Bookworm, be it for source material readers, anime originals. What did you think, and how excited are you for episode 2 next week? Do let me know. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.